Yeah, cuz.
I like that. I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Welcome into another edition of the Bridge Podcast, the number one podcast here in Harford County. We give information and inspiration to our community here. We have Will Power. He's the founder of Will Power here. I met him this morning, Jarrell. He's got a
Mhm.
lot to say. His I guess his foundation and what he does in the community is very positive. So we're just gonna go ahead and jump right into it, man.
Yeah, and very important, might I add. So, Will, introduce yourself, man.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Hello, Harper County.
Oh,
Thank you
come on,
guys.
hold on,
I
bruh.
know.
Don't bring the don't bring the Barry White to us, bruh. Come
Hello,
on, bruh.
Hartford and all Baltimore surrounding areas. What's going on? My name is Will Howard, and I am the founder of Willpower, which is a youth mentoring program. We right now specifically mentor young men, ages 9 through 21, and we are here to support and uh, also help bridge the gap, between disparities and success. So that's us.
Yeah.
So,
Dope. So I
yeah.
didn't know that you was all the way up to 21. That's a
Oh yeah,
high
yeah,
mark right there.
yeah. Well, the reason is because I believe in just providing that support for pivotal years. So,
Hmm.
as a child at 9, that's a year of concentration, but also too, you coming into your adolescent years, that's a pivotal year, and then your young adult years, that's a whole new world. So sometimes we write off people after 18, and I do not believe in that. I believe that they need support in knowing how to navigate through new territory as an adult. So that's why we go up to 21, and it could be later than that. As much as I have to give is what I will give, no matter the age.
Right. So why mentorship?
Mentorship, because man, I don't know. It's just like in the fiber of my being, I guess, in a sense. I'm a pretty nurturing person, and from a child, like I've always been pretty insightful, like always observing, and always been like a truth seeker. Like I've always been
Hmm.
like that. So because of that, I guess, and I'm the oldest of five, so I guess like
Hmm.
that's part of my personality to try to make sure people are good, make sure people know what they need to know, and particularly mentorship, like with kids. It's not something that I set out to do. I never thought that I would be doing what I'm doing now. I am a musician. I do things with music, and I'm pretty creative and stuff like that. So when I got out of high school, I was, planning on going in that direction. And
Hmm.
then I did some of those things, and then after a while, I had to figure something out that was going to be more substantial. And a friend of
Right.
mine was like, "Why don't you try working in the school system?" And I was like,
Hmm.
"I don't know. I never really wanted to work with kids. That never was crossing my mind."
Right.
So, but I did it. I tried it out, and from there, it was like a lot just unlocked and unraveled for me. So I definitely know like God had ordained that, like that path,
Hmm.
because what I saw myself in other kids, and
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't expect to see that. I didn't
Yeah.
expect to see that. At the time, I didn't have the tools to deal with kids. All I
Yeah.
knew is how my black mom dealt with me.
Right,
So
right,
I
right.
didn't even have the tools on how to deal with kids. I didn't understand. But even like my mentors and the staff that I was working with and for, they all like tutored me, and so a lot of the setting that I started in my youth development career was like the perfect setting for me. It really helped
Hmm.
shape me to give me the outlook and the tools that I needed to even be more of a mentor, because I already had the passion, I already had the heart for it. I just needed the tools for it. And I think one thing that kind of really broke all of this was that when I was young, I had I had a lot of issues like in school, like with my my behavior and stuff like that. You
Me
probably
too.
wouldn't be able to tell now that I'm so chill now, but at that time
Same.
in middle school and stuff like that, I was like struggling a little bit in a lot of
Yeah.
areas. And
Yeah.
so I'm a to be honest, I didn't know that the schools were having conversation. The school was having conversation with my mom about me, like being tested and stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
wanting to put me on medication. Like I didn't know that because to me, I didn't think
You
I
had
was that.
lead.
I
You
didn't
had
think,
lead, yo.
yeah, I didn't think it was that serious. But
Yeah.
the reason I found out was because one night I was raised in church, so one night I was in service, and we were in
Mm-hmm.
revival. And this this minister, this prophetess, she came in and she had
Mm-hmm.
said to my mom, she talked this minister to my mom. She said she looked at me. She said they want to put him on medication, but don't let
Wow.
him. He's going to be fine.
Wow.
And she looked at me and she was like, you gonna do better?" And I was like, "Yeah." But at the time,
Yeah.
I was oblivious. I didn't know that this was even
Right.
that serious.
Right. Right.
So after that, that always stayed with me, but I forgot it. Like I
Yeah.
got out of school and stuff like that. So things started mellowing out or whatever, and then you go on with your life. And when
Yeah.
I started working in the school, when I got into that classroom, and I was dealing with the kids because I worked in a program called CSP, which
Mm-hmm.
is a program that focuses on behaviors. So
Right.
these behaviors are really kind of triggered by different emotional disorders and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
like the last stop before a kid has to go non-public.
Yeah.
So in this CSP program, the kids come in, and it's a modified schedule, modified work experience, all that type of stuff, so that they
Yeah.
can find their thrive pretty much.
Right.
And
Right.
so I was sitting there looking, and then one day that memory just came to my mind. Like
Mm-hmm.
I would have been one of them,
Right.
but it didn't go that far
Yeah.
because these students were medicated. You know,
Right.
I
Right.
was looking at what could have been myself, and
Right.
all them
Right.
years I had forgot it, and it's like God
Right.
brought back to my memory when I was in that classroom, and I
Mm-hmm.
was wow. So I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, these kids are me, and
Yeah.
so now I got to be to them what I wish I had. Um,
Yeah.
so that just kind of took it. Just I just plummeted in it, and
Yeah.
from there, I worked in a school for like 5 years, but somewhere maybe like the second year mark, I started my
Mm-hmm.
own mentorship program
Mm-hmm.
for the boys in the school, and I
Yeah.
did that for like 3 years, and then I went into Boys and Girls Club. I was program director for their Have the Grace Club, and then
Mm-hmm.
I went to Baltimore, and I was the director of the O'Donnell Heights Club, Metropolitan Baltimore, and then
Mm-hmm.
did a lot of work with their teen initiative and stuff like that, and
Mm-hmm.
the case management for young adults and teens. And then I was like, okay, I've been in all of these situations, and I
Right.
always had my own approach no matter where I went. I always brought what only I could bring based on
Mm-hmm.
my experiences, based on my personal self development, and the
Mm-hmm.
things I had to overcome. Your own journey, it bursts
Yeah.
in a ministry in a sense, and an outlook in a sense. So I was always
Right.
in like a certain signature that only I could bring. So I was just like, okay, well, I'm just going to do this myself.
Mm-hmm.
At first, I was like, I don't even know if I want to do mentorship because I knew that it was going to require so much out of me
It's
because
taxing.
it's taxing. I
Mm-hmm.
pour out myself. So, like I said,
Yeah.
everything I went through, all those experiences, everything I'm currently living, I'm shaping it in a way that they can understand, and I'm just getting right in life with them. Whatever
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm going through, I'm solving problems, I'm carrying burdens. I'm seeing things across
Right.
the line. So I was like, I don't know if I want to do that, but it was almost like it was a call. Like I had
Yeah.
just kept calling me to it, and so I did it. And actually, May of 2024 was when I started. So this past May would have been a year. So it's been a year officially that the program
Yep.
has been in existence, and the Lord's blessing us, and we've experienced a lot of exponential growth within this first year. We do one-on-one mentoring, which is
Mm-hmm.
our partner program. So we mentor kids one on one, after school, weekends, things of that nature. So we have a roster of kids that we support in that way, helping them to goal set and strategize ways towards success, not just with careers and stuff like that, but even surviving their
Mhm.
home, surviving their team,
Yeah.
surviving conflict within the home.
Yeah.
So we do a lot
Yeah.
of but then we also have a mentorship program in schools. And
Yeah.
so currently have an MOU with Harford County Public Schools, and we are in 4 schools in Harford County:
Mhm.
Deerfield Elementary, Magnolia Elementary, Edgewood Middle, and Hall's Crossroads.
Mhm.
So we support those kids during the day because when I was a paraeducator at my first squad, I realized how impactful it was to be there in real time. After
Right.
school, when everything already been done,
Yeah.
we cut up and did everything else. So we um, we want to be there in the middle of conflict, and so we start our day with a morning meeting. We do a lot of
Excuse me.
character education and in the beginning of the
Mhm.
day, and then they go to class, and then we pull one-on-ones, and then we also do small groups, and
Mhm.
we just work through an original curriculum that I wrote that's pretty much navigating through the name willpower, because the whole concept of willpower is to strengthen kids so that they're able to make decisions on their own. Um,
Yeah.
we are trying to um, uh, impact their logic, their way of thinking, coming out of feeling, coming out of traumatic responses, and rerouting the logic so that they can make
Mm.
informed and intelligent, emotional, intelligent decisions on their own without
Yeah.
somebody being in their ear, without somebody being right there. And so that
Yeah.
comes from a lot of social and emotional learning. Because even when it comes down to academics and stuff, sometimes kids are not thriving academically because of emotional stuff going on inside of them.
Mhm.
So Will,
Mhm.
let me stop you right there, man, and let me ask you this. So, what's one of the difficulties or one of the things that you see in kids today that they're going through that necessarily we didn't go through when we were coming up?
Oh, I would say, I mean,
First of all, let me interject. Andre is a whole, century ahead of us.
century,
Yeah, I
couple
You know
mean,
generations.
what, man? You know
he's a
what,
whole
man?
century.
Hey,
So,
the
so
thing is, the thing is, Will, is that I may be a couple of years older than you, but I look just as young as that guy right
There
there.
you go.
You
man,
There,
know
you
what
whatever,
I
man.
mean?
twin, where have you been?
All
But
right, go ahead, Will.
so first of all, in a in a sense, there is nothing new under the sun. So things repeat over and over. But
Mhm.
the way, the intensity, some and the method that some stuff presents itself, I think one of the biggest things is this indoctrination of social media. I think that's a huge thing because, and like the streaming universe and all that type of stuff like that. I'm not saying it's necessarily a bad thing, but I mean when you just are underneath that heavy influence of people's opinions and
Mhm.
just points of view, and some of it is good advice, some of it is terrible advice, some of it is facts, some of it is completely fiction, but you don't even really know what to believe. Then you're able to kind of make your own truths and identities, and you know it's just a weird time right now, where in times past we were able to have leaning posts on certain absolute truths, and
Mhm.
now there are things that are up for interpretation. And
Mhm.
and I'm all for people coming into awareness of self and things of that nature, because I even how I mentor and teach kids is sometimes I do a lot of listening, because
Mhm.
they can get to the solution. They can still work out the solution if it's not my way. And so
Mhm.
sometimes I just sit back and lay in wait to watch what they're going to do, to see, okay, so they had a different method, but that is where we're trying to get to. But I think the whole indoctrination and just the boundarylessness of social media is just like a tidal wave. It's like it's really a lot. It's overwhelming.
Mhm.
So they have to fight against those things every day. Um,
Hmm.
and when I was in school, we didn't really have, it was just starting, I guess, in a sense.
Right.
We didn't really have it like that. So your biggest influence was whatever you watched on TV and whatever,
BET.
yeah,
Yeah.
whatever your peers, whatever lifestyle they lived and they brought to school, then
Right.
that was your influence. But you still maybe had like strong family ties or at home. But nowadays, that's not even intact because social media is like raising kids. Like kids
Hmm.
are
Wow,
being put on tablets at 2,
Electronics.
3, and
Period.
4.
Yeah.
You know
that
what
is
I'm
so
saying?
true.
So
Yeah.
there's
That's so
no
true.
foundation of a lot. I'm not saying all the time. I'm not generalizing,
Sure.
but sometimes like there's no foundation of this is what we believe. This is what you stand on. You're my son. This is what we do over here. There's
Hmm.
not
Hmm.
always a lot of that. Sometimes you don't come to those conversations until something goes wrong, and
Right.
you just assume that they're supposed to have that insight or that foresight. No, that has to be taught. And so then
Hmm.
it's like when something happens, then it's like a whole teaching lesson. Then they have to hurry up and get it. And sometimes that's not fair to them. So I realize that when I'm doing mentoring, that I don't take anything for granted. Sometimes I have to start from scratch. And my grandmother, she's always used to tell me, she said, a good teacher never assumes you know the answer.
Yeah.
And so I kind of have to go from that approach because you think because somebody's in front of you that they already know what's up. And a
Hmm.
lot of times they don't know what's up. The situation just hasn't presented itself
Yeah.
for them to sink or swim yet.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Do
Yeah.
you find?
Um.
I'm sorry, Jarrell. I got one more question.
Yeah.
Do
Go
you
ahead.
find kids? Do you find kids today to be um, a little bit more resistant to having a mentor or be to get into a mentorship program, or are they, 10 toes down on getting into the program and doing what they're supposed to be doing?
I think if it makes sense for them, I think it's always a thing like, for what? So can you, if you can answer the for what, then you may be all right. If just how like you guys are interviewing me now to talk about what I'm doing, I have to come with that same type of confidence with kids
Hmm.
because whether I'm talking to parents or not, I have to get their buy-in. So I got to have the same confidence with them. I have to be able to tell them why I want to mentor you, what I see
Hmm.
in you, why what I have to share is valuable, why it's different than what
Hmm.
you have heard before or may have not heard before. So I think that it's just a situation of um like why, and is this valuable enough? Is this not a waste of my time? And I think that's a good type of check to have. I think that we
Yeah.
should be asking ourselves why we're doing something, and if we really have what it takes to really transform lives, or are we wasting time, people's time, or I just think it's a good,
Resources.
yeah, I think it's a good reality check. And sometimes it's uncomfortable because you like, wait a minute, like, but sometimes you do got to ask yourself, like, why am I doing this? And
Hmm.
why would it be important to them? Why is what
Yeah.
I'm telling them, why would that be important to them? Because I feel it's important, or is it because I can see how it directly connects to them? Can I connect the dots for them?
Hmm.
So if you can connect the dots for them, I've seen that they're usually open to it. Like the kids that I work with, which is a wide range, I said from 9 to 21, is usually a
Hmm.
situation where, especially the older kids, if I can make it make sense, does
Hmm.
this lead to job opportunity? Does this lead to, money? Does this lead to something that I'm after in life? If you can make it make sense, then okay, cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's important because I literally was just talking to someone earlier today about, you know, um all these resources that are out here, and sometimes we just do not know. We
Yeah,
just do
because
not know.
we're not really thinking about, like, yeah, I agree. There are people that are sitting on resources. Well,
Yeah.
why they don't come, or they don't come, or they don't ask, or people are be sitting on resources, but you have to connect the
You got
dots.
to.
You
Yep.
have to make it make sense.
Yeah.
Literally, make
Yeah.
it make sense.
And
Yeah.
Will, I got to push back a little bit on Jarrell there because the thing is that
Dude
like
always got
sometimes
something to say.
I
What
always
kind
do.
of pushback you got, bruh?
Where I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna
Go
tell
ahead.
you right now. The
Go ahead,
pushback
man.
is that so like Will is right. Sometimes people do, these organizations kind of, they don't market themselves well, and they sit on
Hmm.
their information.
Hmm.
But what I will say is that the vast majority of resources are right at the fingertips, or right at your fingertips.
Yeah.
Hmm.
You
Yeah.
Yeah.
know what I mean? It's
And
just it's a matter of actually just looking up, how
hmm
do I help my child, or how do I help myself?
hmm
Because it's right there. Everything. I mean,
Yeah.
you can go on YouTube right now and DIY anything in your home,
Yeah.
anything on your car, anything. You know what I mean? So it's right there at your fingertips. It's just, people either, they either gotta want to get the information, or they don't.
and I
Period.
think right
That's true.
there
Yeah.
is really one of the big issues too that I
That was a
found.
good pushback, by the way.
Yeah,
Well, I appreciate you.
I think that's one of the issues too is people don't sometimes people don't have the willpower. they don't
Mm,
Mm.
they don't have the
Hmm.
willpower to do what's right. So it's almost like when I'm working with kids, I am trying to strengthen their will to do.
Willpower.
Like they
Mm.
don't even have, like you said, it's right at their,
Minister.
you know,
Minister.
why? Here you
Yes.
here you go. It's right at their fingertips. Why didn't you look up this information? Why didn't you research to see how much that scholarship was for? Like, so sometimes I
Mm.
feel myself in a situation where I have to will them to do it until they
Mm.
see that their action does have some type of reward behind it. Because
Mm.
sometimes they count themselves out of it being productive or effective before they even try it.
right.
Hmm.
It's sometimes the optics thing. If they think it's going to waste their time, and sometimes as a mentor, I guess too, with the similar age, uh, I'm not too far removed from their age. I got to bring them back down to reality because
Yeah.
it can be an inflated sense of self sometimes, like,
Hmm.
or
Hmm.
you think that it doesn't matter or it's not going to be effective, and I have to bring that balloon back down and be like, no, this does work. Like these basic
Yeah.
things does work, and I have to sometimes will them to do it until they see it, and then they're good to go on their own. I had a kid who was dead set like against college. He didn't want to go at all, and I told him, I want you to go on this college tour with me. We had went to Coppin, and I took a group of kids up there. And make a long story short, by before the tour was over, he had already applied online,
Mm.
and I that was like one of the highlights in my career with doing this was just the fact that
Yeah.
he was so he graduated from Dunbar. I think he was in their like their paramedics program or something like that. But
Hmm.
he determined that college wasn't for him and that he wasn't going to do it. But in me like encouraging him, like urging him to go on this tour because one of the things I do, I try to build such a relationship with kids where my voice matters to them,
Yeah.
and there's some things ain't negotiable.
Hmm.
But you
Yeah.
can pull rank like that if you don't have that relationship with them.
Yeah.
So that's another big piece of mentorship. So I believe it was something like, yeah, you need to go. Like we're going here, be here. We're going here. But at
Yeah.
by before the tour was over, he had already applied, and I was like, yeah,
That's what's
What I,
up.
what I,
Yeah. And
what I found out was that like in the military, and Jarrell can attest to this. Like in the military, like for instance, um, like if you're a leader and you're not willing to run those miles or whatever,
mm.
right,
then the soldiers behind you, they're
hmm
not going to follow you.
right,
If you're
Hmm.
out there leading from the front, just
hmm
like you're doing, then those kids look at you differently, and they
Hmm.
they they hear the tone and tenor of what you're saying, and they're
hmm
more willing to follow you because you've been there and done that.
Yeah.
absolutely, I agree. It's like another thing I want to say about the whole social media thing. I think that social media sometimes paralyzes people's will to do. Like they
Hmm.
think it should happen like that.
Right.
It paralyzes like their will to do. Like you have to do certain steps. You can't just wait for something to fall on you. You have to, go after it. So some of
Right.
them literally don't have the willpower, and that's no pun intended. I'm seeing a generation of youth sometimes that don't have it, and if something goes wrong, they get majorly disappointed, and they just want to give up and not even try again.
Hmm.
So that the whole willpower thing is definitely more than some type of cliche. Like it's a real mission to strengthen their will to be able to do things.
Yeah. Now, do you mentor mainly the black community?
Oh no, all
All
boys,
boys.
no matter the race or anything. Because I mean, trauma doesn't is not confined to
Right.
race or any or demographics. I mean, there are certain things that are particular to some demographics that are specific
Yeah.
to some demographics, but I mean, every that's human.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
there's a shared human experience. So yeah, I mentor all kids. And also too, like I work inside the school, so
Yeah.
yeah, I have a very diverse group of
Good,
boys.
good, yeah. Got you. So, one thing that you mentioned earlier was the your background and your experience through like middle school. I can totally relate, man. I never forget my seventh grade year
That was the
was
worst.
horrible.
That was the worst.
It was horrible for me,
Mhm,
and in hindsight, looking back, my parents divorced. Now we're back in Maryland.
mhm,
We're back in a one bedroom apartment with my grandmother,
mhm,
and we're it's like eight of us in this one bedroom apartment,
mhm,
and we're just trying to survive now,
mhm, mhm,
and I had so much, hate in my heart and in my mind,
mhm,
for my mom and my situation and stuff. And I wish that
mhm,
I had a mentor that
mhm,
mentored me,
mhm,
during that time. I had an uncle, but that's my uncle. He was a disciplinarian and stuff like
mhm.
that. That ain't necessarily mentorship, you know what I
Right.
mean? And even we had a program in middle school called Boys to Men. And
Right.
honestly, bro, I don't even remember a doggone thing that happened with that, that program. How if it did benefit me during that time. I can't even remember, you know. Um, but yeah, bro, during that time, these these are the pivotal years that you're in, bro. That you're assisting in. Are you frozen? Is Will frozen?
No, I'm just
Okay.
looking at you.
Okay. Got you. Yeah, so the years that you, especially the years that you are beginning with, they are pivotal. And I was talking to you a couple of days ago about it. Where you had in your mind, you had initially what was it, beginning with like fifth grade or something like that? And then the schools was asking, hey, can you do fourth grade? Hey, can you do third grade? Hey, can you do second grade?
Mhm.
So talk to us about that, about why is it important to start so young?
Right. So at first I was like hesitant to start that low in
Hmm.
grades because I know like the stuff that we be teaching, and I just wanted to make sure that they could understand the concepts, because that's the main thing. If I'm coming in and teaching social emotional learning, can they
Hmm.
understand it? But I actually, not gonna lie, like I get shocked more and more at their level of capacity.
Oh
um
yeah.
yeah,
Oh
because
yeah.
I was telling you a couple of days ago, like the lowest grade that I've mentored now was second grade. And so I
Hmm.
originally was like, I only do fourth and fifth, but they kept
Hmm.
asking me to go lower, different schools were, and I'm like, okay. But I would just say I think it's good to start that age because, again, before things start setting in, I can challenge it
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
kind of reroute it and stuff like that. And their minds are more impressionable. Like,
Hmm.
that's one thing
Hmm.
I noticed about elementary level. Like, they actually do listen to what you say, Like you can
Yeah.
be saying some things, and then I love it like when it just randomly they look up and be like, "What's that mean?"
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that means this, and that.
Yeah.
So, like they are listening, and they are impressionable, and so those grades are really good to kind of get start building a foundation. Um, the middle school, high school ages, like middle school, I kind of like those ages too because sometimes I like a little bit of the challenge. Like
Challenge. Yeah.
I like it because sometimes in that situation you almost got to get like right up on them, right in their
Yeah.
face about some stuff. Um, yeah, so I mean, I don't even think I have like a favorite. I think that maybe the weirdest one sometimes can be like high school
Yeah.
because they're so mellowed out. Again, like I was
Mm-hmm.
saying, like it sometimes it can present that there's no issue
Mm-hmm.
until
Mm-hmm.
something goes up and you're
It
like, okay,
rises. Yeah.
there's an issue. So
Yeah.
sometimes it's like, okay, they're mature, but how do I handle them? Like, do I gotta go like, they're still a child, and so
Mm-hmm.
sometimes the high school age can be a little weird, but other than that, I don't really have a preference. It's all
Yeah.
about the work, and everybody's personality is different. So you just
Yeah.
be on the individual person and knowing how to reach them best.
Yeah, definitely. I think my nephew will be in Edgewood Middle School next year, so I'm gonna
Who's that?
definitely make sure his little, Namir.
Oh, okay, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So do you focus on maintaining grades as well, or is it more so, characteristics of, you know, life?
No, grades are a big thing as well because
Mm-hmm.
to me that shows me that you're utilizing the tools. So
Mm,
it's not just to utilize like your character manifests in everything that you do.
right.
So if you are somebody that is time efficient and things of that nature, then you're going to start turning in assignments on time.
Yeah.
If you're somebody that is focused and listening, you should be acing tests. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So like the character manifests in the classroom too. So no, academics is also a big driving force of it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
the we're still working out kinks on the because what we do at each of the schools, we're there for half days.
Mm-hmm.
So what we're learning is half day is not nearly enough time.
Enough. Yeah.
We're at the school for half days, each school twice a week.
Twice a
So
week each school.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
twice a week on half days. So we're like, there's not nearly enough time, but we do what we do. The way our model works is I usually come in and teach in the mornings at the schools, but we have uh, two character coaches
Mm-hmm.
that are at each school. So
Mm.
the ones that are at Deerfield and Edgewood Middle,
Mm-hmm.
Halls Cross, all of the schools. So shout out
Mm-hmm.
to Calvin and Max. Those are my
Mm-hmm.
character coaches. They kind of go in and they hold it up because I literally
Yeah.
can't be everywhere at one time. And so they build those relationships with the kids, with the staff at the school, and
Yeah.
they follow up on the kids. They sit in classrooms. They make sure that the kids are doing what they're supposed to be doing. Um, and we do follow with whatever the academic requirements are. So I think that's the beautiful thing of having open communication with teachers working inside of the school. It's like I can say, okay, uh, the kids have a throughout the week they show us what their hack is. That's the grading system online. So they show
Mm-hmm.
teachers are posting. Okay, cool. You have a D in this class. It's nothing for our mentors or character coaches to email the teachers and be like, hey, what can such and such do to get this grade up? Okay, so then we bring that
Mm-hmm.
to our one-on-one session. Then we develop
Mm-hmm.
a strategy for how to accomplish that goal. So
Yeah.
we work hand in hand. So there's a lot of different components to it, and we're just trying to balance it all in the short amount of time that we have with them.
Got you. Got you.
Hey, hey, Will. So what's some of the barriers that you face in your mentorship program right now?
That is such a good question, and I, I do bad at answering this question because I guess I'm so used to trying to navigate through stuff that I often struggle with knowing how to ask for help.
Mm,
In the sense of, you know, knowing what the barriers are. I mean, I know a few, like um, some of the barriers when it comes down to mentorship is overall. I think that sometimes schools want a quick track of growth. They want things to be instant, and
Hmm.
really, it's a journey. You know, it's
Yeah.
not just an instantaneous thing, and you have to have patience because. And we're really good at setting those expectations early. Like we are not
Hmm.
coming into instantly fix. It's going to take time because we have to challenge mindsets, reprove different ways of thinking that because you got to think when somebody responds in a certain way behavior wise, to them it makes sense. There's a logic to why they did what they did, so we have to like unravel that type of stuff. So just understanding that it's a long game sometimes with the partners we work with. So I think that's one
You would think that they know that.
you would think, but I don't think so. I think
Yeah.
sometimes when people see mentorship groups, they think it's the cavalry coming, and
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
they're just like, oh, okay,
Mm.
they're here to save us. They're going to clean up all of the issues going on
Yeah.
with kids,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's not fair. It's not fair,
Yeah.
and that's not accurate. You know,
Right.
it took time for those type of mindsets to develop, and it takes time
Right.
to unravel. So I think
Right.
that I really want just that the education community at large to just understand that these things take time, and
Yeah.
if you have a mentor in your school in your organization, give them grace, and throw the
Hmm.
support. Always ask like, what do they need to
Hmm.
make their job more successful. I love the schools that I'm working with because they do their best to really support whatever I need. If I have any type of ideas, they throw support around that. And so it's been pretty good. I just talked to um, one of the principals at the school, and she had asked me that I want to be a part of their fifth grade graduation. And I said I would love
Nice.
to. Just
Nice.
that in that inclusion, like including
Hmm.
celebrating these boys' accomplishments and milestones because some of them don't fit in a box. So the standard uh, criteria for accomplishment, some of them might not ever see. You
Yeah.
know, but for me to be able to say, no, they've grown in these ways,
Yeah.
that allows them to experience that. So that's a big thing. I really appreciate the partners that I have in the schools that do understand that and work with me on that. Another thing is just community support because a lot of times, and I'm not this, I don't really think it's a fault to it. Sometimes it's just you do what you have to do to create visibility. Sometimes it takes time for people to know who you are and know what you do. But I
Hmm.
think the community partnerships are big, and for the community to see the youth as an investment. Because
Hmm.
if you invest in them now, then the society that you want to live in a couple of years might be just what you envision. But if you keep walking over top of them and you look at it as not your issue, it will become your issue, and then it
Absolutely.
might be
Hmm.
to deal with stuff. So a lot of times, like when I'm appealing for different community partners for the partnership or for donation or opportunity, because that's a big thing too. Exposure, getting them in certain doors or can we tour this facility or can just and it doesn't always have to be money, but just making some type of level of investment that first of all it builds relationship with the kid and it ties them to their community. They don't even
Hmm.
know who certain stakeholders are in their community. They don't know who these people are. So
Right.
you like a mentor that helps bridge that gap. I introduce them to Mr. Johnny, who's the butcher. And now when
Hmm.
I'm not around and they walk past Mr. Johnny's shop, it's all love.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because that connection has been made. So
Yeah.
look at them like something to be afraid of because they don't know them and they're walking around in ski mask in 102-degree weather. They could be like, well,
Yeah.
they don't look at them like a threat. That
Yeah.
connection has been established because they met each other through some type of programmatic initiative, through willpower, through whatever. So I think that's a big thing too, just having that community support because take whatever the community doesn't support, likely 9 times out of 10 the mentor is going to fund.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
a lot comes out of my pockets just to make sure that they have a quality program. You
Right.
know, it's It's expensive. It's a lot that goes into it to make sure that
Yeah.
everybody is getting quality. And again, I think when you guys asked about the buy-in, like, do I have issues or problems with like kids buying in? That goes into the buy-in. You
Yeah.
know what I how the program looks. Are we coming in with willpower drawn on our shirt with permanent marker, or is it embroidered? What matters because kids pay
Yeah.
attention. If
Yeah.
they don't, they be sizing you up from the time you walk in the room to
Yeah.
see how official this thing is, to see
Yeah.
if it's something that we're going to be proud to be a part of.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
all of those things, man.
Yeah, that's dope, bro. If we could take it back a couple of steps, with the mentorship as far as building up their personhood, their livelihood and stuff like that. When we was talking a couple of days ago, I had mentioned, at my daughter's school, they do a student of the month each month, and um, uh, my daughter got student of the month maybe like 4 times this year, and every time that I went, they invite the parents to the ceremony and stuff, and every time I went, it's it's a bunch of girls who are getting these awards, you know. Um and there's a couple of boys sporadically receiving these awards. I'm not sure about the times that I wasn't there, but again, every time that I'm there, it's at least 12 girls and like 3 boys getting these awards. And these they practice a characteristic all month, and they get a award for these characteristics, like self-discipline, integrity, kindness, responsibility, perseverance, teamwork, respect, and stuff like that. So as far as far and we know that, well, society says, girls develop faster than boys and stuff like that. um uh so with that, what have you what are you working with? What do you know of the schools and the school systems and mentorships and mentor programs working with those qualities and characteristics building up for these young men or these young boys soon to be men?
So yeah, you're right. The schools do have like character traits of the month typically that
Hmm.
they promote, and once a month they get recognized. I think it's like a student per class or something like that.
Right.
So sometimes it may favor where more girls are being picked than boys. There could be a lot
How
of
can
reasons.
we get these boys, to, be favored? That's what
Um, I think it's maybe educating sometimes our teachers, like just it's
mm,
first you need mentorship program in your schools. That's
yeah.
one, because mentors also act as advocates. That's one part of my job.
Mm,
So
mm-hmm,
when I'm in these schools and this child has had a history with this teacher, and because
mm-hmm.
of that history, she's worn thin,
She,
and
yeah,
so
yeah,
the narrative is already set. But I have to
yeah.
come in. I'm coming in with fresh eyes, fresh heart, fresh spirit about it, and I'm like,
Mm,
I get why you could be frustrated with him, but you know, give him another chance. He responds because of this, and we're working
mm,
with him on these situations. So it kind of
mm,
creates a lifting a little bit. And she's like, okay, well, he's he's in this program now. Let's see how this works, and
mm,
that's kind of like the give that we need to kind of almost like allow that teacher to see the good in this child again,
yeah.
because now she sees like, okay, there's a reinforcement of support around him, and
Mm,
maybe he is going to learn something different. So now I'm going to pay
mm-hmm,
special attention to the things
yeah,
that he does and to see if he's learning the things from this program.
yeah,
So I feel like there needs to be a level of advocacy, because if there's not a level of advocacy for certain students, for the boys or things of that nature, then sometimes you're just left with that teacher's experience. And I'm not saying that teachers
Yeah.
have a right to be burnt out, upset, and all
Right.
of that.
Right.
That's why having a mentorship program where somebody can advocate for these
Mm.
kids that have been in repeat situations,
Yeah.
um, that can help, just renew the hope for
Hmm.
these kids. You haven't written them off because
Right.
they had a bad school year.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big thing. Just somebody advocating for the children, so that, and then like I said before, like the principals let me present and share at the and recognize my kids at the fifth grade graduation. Just
Hmm.
that, I'm about to say the word wrong, inclusivity or whatever it is. Just,
Yeah.
yeah, just that,
Yeah.
I think goes a long way. And just,
Yeah.
I love when I'm working with people that don't mind figuring out ways to establish equity,
Yeah.
um, in the situation, because everybody's starting at different places. So,
Hmm.
if this child has not been able to get right, then maybe they'll come across accomplishments in this type of setting.
Yeah.
Then hopefully the administrative staff will support that. And
Yeah.
but again, that mentor has to advocate. It comes down to advocacy in some situations.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. That's dope, bro. That's dope. Um, Advocacy is very important, especially for these the young black ones,
Hmm.
because a lot of times they don't have a voice for themselves. And
Right.
like you said, some teachers automatically write them off, bro, at an
Hmm.
early age, bro.
Hmm.
At an
Yeah.
early age. I know I probably was written off
Hmm.
several times,
Right. Right.
several
Right.
times over.
Yeah.
For the life of me, bro, I don't even know how I made it through high school, bro.
Grace of
For real.
God. But see,
Yeah.
that mentor or even a good teacher. Sometimes we have a lot of good teachers, and it's not even in their job description, but they go out their way, to
Yeah.
make sure that a child feels loved and feels. I just too many stories to count of so many
Yeah.
teachers that, not even my personal, but I've seen do it for other
Yeah.
kids.
Yeah.
They give the most so that child feels loved, but somebody has to still see the hope in the child. Somebody has to
Absolutely.
still see it, and if that flicker of hope is gone out, then it's like they just walk over you and they just try to pass you through, and we don't want that.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Absolutely. And I think uh mentorship is very important for one. I think um it has fallen through the cracks though, especially in the younger generation. I was told some years ago that you should always have a mentor yourself. You should be a mentor yourself, so you should have somebody above you, and then you should have somebody below you being the mentor
Hmm.
too. And I think my generation failed at that, bro. And even myself has failed at that. I've done some coaching, here and there, but as far as making myself available to mentorship, I think our generation failed at that.
Hmm.
Andre's generation just didn't care, yo.
Done.
You know, it's like nah.
Hey,
Oh,
hey, so well, let me ask you this, man. So I know there's a huge narrative out there about the kids today, right? And about how in past generations, uh, kids were more resilient. What's your thoughts on the resiliency of the kids today? And do you think that kids are less or more resilient today?
Mm.
less,
Um. Hmm.
less,
Ooh, I don't know because
bro.
Wait a minute, Will. Wait a minute, wait. Don't
My
don't
bad.
answer that question. Let Relsky answer this question because we've been having this debate for a while now, and so yeah, on
what say ye,
as
Jarrell? What you
far
say?
as far
I
as
think these
resilience.
kids are way less resilient. I think they do not have any critical thinking skills. Um, like us. I think that uh they have no figure it outness about them. You know,
Okay.
um no, it's not a word, but um I think that they are exposed to too much. They have too much information, which they think that they know it all, you know but they don't know a damn thing. I mean, like,
I
so
would. I'm sorry to cut you. I would
nah, you
maybe
good.
agree with you. I think I
Yeah,
would agree with you because when that question was asked, I'm sitting there literally thinking through kids, and
exactly.
the big thing is about the whole crash out thing,
Hmm.
and there's a lot of crashing out. But I also want to also remind and lift up that um, sometimes crashing out or falling apart doesn't always look like an explosion. It looks like an implosion. So it's like
Mm,
you can just because somebody's
minister.
active moving around, but they done been gave up.
Yeah.
They then gave up. They still bopping around everything. They
Hmm.
still in and out of places, dapping each other up, but they have been given up
Yeah.
because through disappointment or whatever the case may be. So um I don't know if this generation is as resilient. There is resilience there. Like
There
I
is
know kids
some.
that
Yes.
have come from all types of situations and still got hope. But
Right.
I think overall, I don't see a big level of resilience. I mean, thus my name, willpower.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I don't always see it. I see
Bro.
more get on the verge of crashing out, or
Hmm.
if it's not an explosion, it's crashing down internally.
Right. Right. Bro, like, these kids, they don't want jobs. They don't want they don't want a lot for themselves. Period. You know.
Well, they do. They want everything for themselves, but not the
Right.
work
True.
that
True.
that
True.
really
True.
comes with it. Yeah.
True. True indeed. True
Yeah,
indeed.
I would agree with that. I agree
Oh,
that
you agree?
no, for the
Oh,
most part, no, for the most
okay.
part, I don't agree with you. I agree with
Man,
Will.
whatever, man. Oh my
what
god.
I'm saying is, is that I agree with the fact that a lot of these kids feel entitled. They feel
Mm-hmm.
like they necessarily should be given things instead of have to actually work for it, right? And
Yeah.
then when they don't get it because they don't work for it, or they feel like they don't have to work for it, then that's where reality strikes them in the face, and that causes them to crash out, right? So I think that that's a but I don't know if necessarily that is um well would that be perceived as a resiliency test,
As far as what, how, as far as
as
what?
far as the way that they consume the information of now I have to work for something, and then because they don't get it automatically given to them, then they crash out.
I would
You
say
understand?
that is a resilience test
Mm-hmm.
because some things do not happen on the first try. Like I'll even just will take it to like a school situation, like even looking for scholarships.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
like if you the first one or two didn't come through, or if you have to, if guidance counselor gives you a sheet and says you need to look through all of these, or I often see like, "Oh, I got to do all this, or I got to do all that." A lot of times, like I may have to go through what are the requirements and what's the expectations, and up front I have to be like, okay, now there's 7 things you're gonna have to do,
Mm-hmm.
and these 7 things are gonna require this. Number three is gonna be a little bit hard, but we're gonna work on one and two, and then we'll do number three. Like I have to kind of like I already know where the mind is gonna go as far as their tolerance level, like
Mm-hmm.
just for being inconvenienced and things of that nature. And so I kind of have to present it in a way where that's I'll ask questions like, what are whoever I'm working with, whoever who's given the opportunity, what are all the requirements up front? Because I got to know how to pitch this to this child. Because if I just throw the information to this child and say, "Oh, go do it," I'm
Mhm.
and in a month I'm gonna say, "Hey, how did that go?" Man, they wanted me to do all of this and yada. I don't got time
Right.
for that.
Right.
So I gotta ask for all the requirements up front, and then I pitch it. I look through everything that is saying they're gonna need. Then I come in front of that kid and say, okay, these are the 11 steps. You're gonna have to do
Right.
this, and that, and the way you do this. And that's another thing too. If sometimes if
Mm.
there's a barrier where uh, they don't understand how to do something, maybe
Mhm.
instead of researching or reaching out to somebody for help, that might just X them out of the equation. If they felt like
Mhm.
they didn't know how to do something, or if
Mhm.
something was too hard. So I try to make sure that I lift as much of the burden out of getting to success as possible. Now, again, that's not every kid. I don't mean to
Right.
generalize anything I'm saying, because I know kids that are killing the game. Like,
Very
all you got
self-sufficient.
to do
Yeah.
is give them a compass or a direction, and they're
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah.
So,
Will, that's my, and I think that's my point with Relsky here too, is that I don't like to generalize. Um,
I don't
with,
generalize
there
either.
are kids, because I have at least 70 kids that ask for scholarships from me,
hmm
and I go through the list and I look at, their, what they've done, what they've accomplished in school, and they've accomplished a lot. They've done a
hmm
lot of things in school, a lot of great things in school. So
hmm
that's why I'm saying I don't like to generalize as much, because I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be that guy that is pointing to these kids, and only the kids that are having issues like this,
hmm
and then generalizing and saying that it's all of the kids, right? Because
Yeah, no, ain't nobody generalizing, cuz.
it's it could be a fraction, but I don't want to be our parents, like, because sort of
Mhm.
like this is the same conversation that our parents were having from previous generations. Oh, these kids are
Mhm.
lazy. These kids don't,
hmm
the and then it just goes on
right.
to the next generation like
And
this. So
that's
I
why I was saying,
that's why.
like, yeah, I was saying they do, because I think Dress or something like seem like they don't want nothing. But that's why I was like, I think they do want great things, but
Mhm.
sometimes everybody does not have the stamina, the tenacity, the perseverance to
Mhm.
go through a process.
Mhm.
Well,
Now,
Mhm.
I think too, Will. I think, you brought up a great point too about, social media, but also, we're forgetting what they're consuming as far as reality TV. A lot of that
mhm,
stuff on reality TV, it's all staged, right?
mhm,
So they see what's
Mhm.
on reality TV, and
mhm,
they
Mhm.
think that that's how they should be living, right?
mhm,
Yeah.
When I was coming up, you had Yo MTV Cribs, and then they opened up the refrigerator and it looked like everything stocked perfectly and everything. And I was like, yo, like, that's how I should be living, right? And it wasn't.
Right.
It's not really reality. It's all staged. So I
and I think
think,
Yeah.
you know,
a big thing too is a parent's involvement in their child's life. Because if
Mhm.
that parent has set a certain structure to say, this, you don't have many options, this is what we do, this is where you're going, then a lot of times that child is conditioned to move at a certain pace in a certain way. But there are some kids that didn't have that still thrive out of survival, and then there
Mhm.
are some kids that do have everything and don't have no will to do nothing. They've been afforded every opportunity and still don't have any will to do anything. And then there's some
Mhm.
kids that don't have anything, didn't have nobody pushing them, and they're lost. They don't know how to. They don't know who to talk to. They don't know. They just don't know. And then there's some that um, they can go certain distance, but to go for the long haul, that's where they get
Yeah.
they get lost at. So I think there's so many different cases, and to your point, Andre, generalization, just period, is dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you create systems off of generalization, then you are for sure about to exclude somebody.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
You're
Mm-hmm.
bound to, and I think you have to think of all the different scenarios that criteria somebody could fit in, and you just want to have spaces for everybody to have a chance. And I think that's where equity comes in. Even the work that you do, Andre, just the advocacy and bringing things to light to this podcast, bringing things to light that there are so many different types of scenarios and different types of situations that might not be heard of mainstream, or we are so used to the indoctrination of generalization. Like
Mm-hmm.
anytime I hear stuff like statistics say this, and that. That's a big trend too. Like people try to blurt out statistics or something. I'm not saying that that's not true, but there's
Mm-hmm.
a lot of follow up questions with that. Like who was asked, like
Mm-hmm.
what, how,
And
you know?
and and will to that point too is that you can find Jarrell Relsky, you can
This
find a
dude.
statistic, that fits your narrative for
Right,
anything, right?
right.
But yeah, look, man, we've blown past the hour. So for Relsky and I, and for the general public out there, how can we help or assist you in your journey as far as mentorship, the
Okay.
mentorship program?
Yes, yes. So, one of the things that we could use assistance with is um, just your patronage for one. We are a new program, so donations all always help, and not just monetary, but anything that you see as a resource that could benefit a young man. Like I said, it could be an experience, it could be an opportunity, it could be tickets to a game, that gets somebody out of their environment and can see something
Mm-hmm.
outside of their everyday circumstance that allows them to dream bigger.
Mm-hmm.
So there's so many different things in that regard, as far as partnerships are concerned. Also, too, we are doing a summer camp this summer, called Total Power Camp, which is builds on the momentum that we have been generating in the school year. And so this is a 1 day a week camp in Joppatown, Maryland. And so we are still collecting donations for that, um, food donations and monetary donations. We're also doing a back to school drive on the last day of camp, so that all of our kids have what they need going back into another school year. And so those are ways that you can help, and just also spreading the word. If you know that you have a young man in your life that could use mentorship, don't hesitate to reach out to us. You can find us at www.willpowerunleashed.com. We're on Instagram at Willpower Unleashed. You can see the work that we do day in and day out. We're always posting videos about our work, so you guys can see it's not just lip service, but we are really putting in the work. So yeah, those are, like I said, I have a bad habit of not knowing how to ask for help. I know my I got a director of community expansion, Marcus Custer. Andre, he also said hello to you as well when I told him I was
Right.
going to be on here, but he gets on me all the time, like, Will, you don't know what to say. I have the passion. Sometimes he has the brain for it. But I hope you hear my heart in knowing that when you have mentors or people that are boots on the ground doing the work that help shape society for the days to come, get behind it in some type of way. You know, um,
Mm-hmm.
just that it boils down to that. And if um, we come to you and ask for something, just be kind to us.
Well, look, man, we appreciate everything that you're doing in the community, man. We
Absolutely.
know that it's hard out there, but you're doing the groundwork that's setting the pavement for the next generation, right? And it's people like you that are going to make our community much better. So I truly
Mm-hmm.
appreciate you from the bottom of my heart, man. And Rosky, you can go ahead and take us out, bro.
Yeah, well, bro, I love you, bro. continue doing what you're doing, bro. You already know anything you need from me, you got it.
Jarrell's
Um,
he's coming to speak to my kids next Monday. He's
yeah,
gonna come, so he'll
yeah.
be up there next Monday at Edgewood Middle School. So we've been doing a series right now of teaching different skills so that their summer is not idle and they're not
Mhm,
just rotting away. So we had a barber come this past week. Brady Malloy, he came and talked about his journey, and he's going to come do some tutorial stuff. Jarrell's going to come and talk about his entrepreneur journey, and also hit on the like the industry of clothing design and stuff like that. And so we want to make sure that going out of the school year, these kids have some type of creative options of what they can do, so skills they can start building in the summer. So
yeah.
maybe when they come back next school year, either they want more information about it or they started dibbling dabbling during the summertime. They kept
Mhm.
themselves busy, with learning a new skill that could generate income, generate money. Because if you got a clothing business, you could sell your clothes, or if you're a barber, that's a trade. Everybody always needs a haircut, and so that's another
Mhm.
form of empowerment, is bringing these
Absolutely.
people that do things day to day and showing them how to fish, so that they can
Mm.
make their own money. So I just want to shout that out, Joe. Thank you for coming. And I just want to say thank you to both you guys for having me on this platform and allowing me to speak.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Again, we thank you, bro, for being available to us, and um, we will holler at you later, man.
All right, y'all take
Um,
care.
all right, bro. Peace.